Right, I have got an excessive amount of wedges for a specific reason, but I need to work out which half shot I'm going to use on the golf course. So first things first, I'm using the golf ball that I play with on the golf course. It's just picked up that shot, which is a Trixton Z-Star Diamond. Now, if you change golf ball, it could change your yardages. It could change how that ball behaves in the air, how that ball behaves on the green. So for the most consistency, even if you're using a golf ball that isn't what you should use the same one in competitive golf or in the important stuff that you're playing, just so you don't get any surprises. Because I have been on the golf course in the past, used a different golf ball because I ran out of my normal golf balls, and I flew every green for the first 4 holes. And I couldn't work out why. And on the 5th, I went, it's the golf ball. And I did that in a PGA event, and I got away with it. But the first 4 holes were definitely a struggle. So I did my full swing yardages. This should be 138. The only thing I didn't do is write it on the club, which is what I normally do, because I just want to test it a little bit more. Will I get through that ball and see what comes out? Is it going to be 138? 134? Let's go another one, see if it drops short of 134 or long of it. I think that's going to be a good example shot. 135, cool. And when I've warmed up a little bit more, it'll be 138. But that's close enough for me to be happy. Now, for about 1.5 years, I had my half shots as feet together. So I had my heels touching and my toes out, and I put exactly the same amount of effort through the ball as I do on my main swing. So I didn't have to change gear, I didn't have to suppress anything, I could just put a limitation in my feet and then go. However, I started hitting my normal yardages with my feet like that, but it took about 1.5 years to get into that stage of being able to do that, so I need something different. So if I do a shot where I get my feet together, and I do everything I normally do, 134, 135 on the first 2 shots, 134 on that shot. Okay, I pulled it a little bit. But point proven, that sort of mechanism for me isn't effective anymore. So I need something different, and there's 10 different ways you could do this, and what I do is I try out 3 or 4 different ways, and I do something to the golf ball and then I measure what comes out of it. I don't fish for a number, I see what number comes out from my behaviours. Let's go 132. So the first one I want to try is bottom of the grip. Now what I'm not doing here is changing my posture to go down the grip. I'm pulling the grip up my hands, so then my posture doesn't change. So I get that club at the bottom of the grip there, and I'm going all the way up to that white line because I don't want to have one shot this there, one shot there, one shot there, because I'm sort of down on the grip still. I want to go to the same spot repeatedly. So if I get bottom of the grip, nice, so 138 written down once I'm warmed up, it's going to be good. 127, nice, that's different. And it's pretty close to the pin as well. Same again. And the ball is squeezing to the right hand side a little bit more, 128. This could be a winner. So if I have the club further away from me, we're going to get a directional change. When I bring that club closer, that ball flight is going to move more to the right hand side. So I'm going to get just a little bit more fade in theory from these shots. And I've already got just a little bit of drift to the right, which I quite like. So on the golf course, I'm going to line up the club face to just left of the target. I'm going to go into the bottom of that grip. I'm going to get through that golf ball. It's either going to stay there or it's going to drift just right of that. 129. 127, 128, 129. I have got something that is definitely different to my normal yardage. That one was 122. I didn't quite have as much source through the ball. And when I'm hitting my partial shots, I prefer to commit to whatever I do in the change. I don't want to be too sort of hairy-fairy through it. Because if I swing at 60% effort, say, if I get 60% effort through the ball, that can work. But if I just get a little bit more pumped up and that 60% feeling turns into 85%, I'm going to get longer yardages. If I'm a little bit tired or a little bit cold and I don't quite commit to it and that 60% feeling turns into 40%, I'm going to get different yardages. So I do prefer to commit to the shot. And when I go down to here and commit to the shot, there's no change in pace. I'm still giving it 95% effort, and on a good day that's 100, and on a bad day that's 90. I've got a smaller window for variance. So I still commit to this swing. 127, 128, 129. 127, sound. I've got a secondary yardage. Now I have done that with my irons, so I've got a secondary yardage with each iron as I go down. And if I do that same thing with my 4 wedges are like a mini set of irons. They're just there to give me a number. And then my next club down from the 48 is a 52, and I have changed the colours on these a little bit, so I've gone for a bit of a blue finish in the 52 and white numbers as well because they just stand out a little bit more. So I've got my 48 with some red detail. So I've got red, blue, gold and yellow. Although I did mess up this bit, I need to redo that. Just going to make that black. And it also makes it just a little bit easier when I'm grabbing them out the bag. So full swing 52 degree, I think was about 125. No, it wasn't 125, was it? What is it? That's a good swing. All right, 123. Maybe it was 125. Nice committed shot. 126, cool. So yeah, 125 was the average on that then. Again, I'm trying to remember from the last video. So I need to get a Sharpie and write it on here. So I'm gonna predict something like 117. So 52, bottom of the grip, commit through the ball. Yep, something like that. So obviously I moved the green there as well. 119, lovely. Next to the pin, and say I've got like a full 56 at the length of the club, and that gives me a number that's quite close to the bottom of the grip on a 52. That's not a problem because the bottom of the grip on the 52 is going to launch lower. So I'm going to choose that flight when I'm going into wind and things like that. I'm not going to use the full shot into wind and create all my height. I'm going to just go, okay, here's my yardage from a lower flight and play that one instead. And if I'm going into the wind, I'm kind of choosing a number that's past the pin anyway. So you can kind of use this framework in different ways on the golf course. That's delightful again, same yardage. So 119, 119. I'm going to predict this is going to be, let me feel the strike, 117. Just hit it a little bit skinny. Oh, 112, okay. Came out of the shot, didn't get the club head through the ball, kind of came out of it a little bit. That's a swing thing, not a club thing. Get the club head through the ball, and then we're absolutely cooking. 119 target, 114, okay. Go on, I'll go one for luck. What we got there? We got 118, cool. I'm happy with that. 56. Now I've got a feeling the 56 wasn't far off of that. I've got a feeling it was 115 itself. Change the club on the screen. So full shot first, I think 115's the number. Just a bit shy, I didn't quite get all of it. Was it 115? Maybe it wasn't, maybe it was just a bit shyer than that. I've got to go and rewatch my own video. I should have written it down. What probably would help is to clean this face, because there's a lot of chewed up golf ball in there. No, I think it's 110. Okay, well there's some full swings that keep popping out at 110. Let's go bottom of the grip. Bottom of the grip. Aiming just left a little bit. Nice. And then straight away I'll get something different. There's 100 yards. 100 yards on the first one. 101 on that one. And when we get shots that vary like 1 yard, my predictability on the golf course goes through the roof, and I know that club is going to be 101 on average. So when I get 105 to the pin, I've got that shot going just short of it, and when I get, you know, different yardages, I'm kind of picking the closest number to the shot, but I'm not going to mess around with those shots. I'm not going to go, I need a little bit more than that, or I need a little bit less than that. I'm just going to hit my stock measured swings. Let's call this one wedge. Now I think my full 60 might have been something like 99 yards. 97, I'm happy with that. Right, I'm not going to play the full 60 that often, which is why I'm not going to overthink it. Bottom of the grip. And what have we got there? So that 100 turns into 89. 89, that's got a little bit more juice on it. 95, okay. And then we get 89 again, okay. And I love it when we keep seeing repeated numbers. I do a thing, I go down the bottom of the grip, I do a swing, I get through the ball, and I can predict 85. I can predict what's coming out a lot more. Now, when I've got more important competitions coming up, I want to get a third layer in there, but I need to put the time in to rehearse it and practice it and ingrain it. As it stands, I want my full yardages. I've got 150 to 100 yards covered with my full swings with this full set of wedges. And then down the bottom of the grip, I've just got a layer down from that launches the ball a little bit lower. So I'm going to call that one an anomaly, and that one was a full swing. So I've got 88 average on my partial shot with a 60. I've got my 56, that was these were full shots there. So 110, 110, 107, and then I've got 101 as an average on my partial shot with a 56. And then full swings were here, and then a couple of scrappy ones there. I'm going to ignore them because I kind of took my foot off the pedal too much. 119 average on my partial shot, and then my full shot goes about 7-8 yards longer than that. Then my 48-degree wedge, 134, 135, 134, nice and consistent there. We changed to the bottom of the grip and we changed. So I've got consistent numbers here apart from that one. Get rid of you. My average is 128 on that partial shot there. So I've got another layer similar to what I've got on my irons, where I've got my full shot there and then a secondary number just in a different color, just to give me that secondary shot. And I've done the same thing. I've gone down to the bottom of the grip. So from my 5-iron down to my wedges, I've got a lot of clubs there that have got a main number and a secondary number. But what about the 30, 40, 50, 60 yard shots? Are they a bit more feely? Now, while I'm going to go into open qualifying, I don't want to guess. Now, I probably could guess quite well on the course, but I don't trust it as much. I'd rather just get a couple of numbers that are just shorter than normal, or shorter than the framework I've just looked at there. So we've got down to 88 yards, 88 yards being the lowest shot of all of that matrix. If I give myself 75, and I'm going to go 56, here I'm just going to get my hands to my belly button, and then I'm going to go through and point at the target. I don't want to get anywhere further than parallel, I just want it to stay here. So I've got that belly button here, and I need to find how much energy I'm putting into that and just make sure that I can repeat it. There's a feeling. And it just so happens to have gone around that 75 mark. Belly button through to here. A little bit shyer, and I do find that when we go into this really low end of the swing spectrum, when we go into this really suppressed shot, the consistency just drops a little bit, but I just want to get an average idea of a feeling to a yardage-ish, so I've got something to go by. And if I've got like 85 yards to the pin and I know this is going to carry 75, say, I'm going to play this when I'm under pressure. I'm going to play this shot under pressure, knock it 10 yards short, see if it rolls up a little bit because it's coming in lower, and play with that instead of guess 85, because it just gives me a lot more control. So I've got a little bit too much variation there than I'd like, so I can't repeat that swing. So I'm not going to go into competitive golf and trust that. I'm varying 20 yards there. Do I need to relax more? If I'm almost letting go of this club before I get it through, let's give that 3 swings, let go, get through. It's a crisper strike. What's that, 70? Nice, and it drop and stop. So here, I'm taking out all the pressure. I'm doing the same thing, but I've got no pressure from there. 70 on the last one, 74 on that one. I think that will play quite nicely. I just need to practice and rehearse doing that backswing with no pressure. So 70, 74. 70, 74, 73. Okay, cool, we found it. We have found it. Got a 4-yard window there. Yeah, nice. 69, 5-yard window. And when we've got 30 yards worth of green, a 5-yard window is absolutely fine. Let go, go. Yeah, that's a crisper strike as well. 74, I like that. And I probably will do that swing with all 4 wedges. Probably do it mostly with the 60 and the 56. I'll do it with my most lofted ones because it's going to be closer to the green, but I need something like that. So the first ones that I've tried were going like 80, or going 74, 66, 87. That is no good. I relax my hands on the way back and then I get an average of 72 with a 2-yard variance. I'm fishing for the data. I'm doing a feeling And I'm doing this as a scientist, so when I get on the golf course I can play like an artist. If I can play where I know that feeling and that amount of energy through the ball gives me a certain distance, then I'm just playing with feel, but it's measured feel. I'm going to give it like 62 yards. So 60-degree wedge, same feeling. Really loose at the belly button. You could come and steal that club out of my hands at this point. I've got nothing on it. Get the club head through the ball. And what do we get there? We get 67. So that's maybe a bit tight to the 72. Let's see if that was the most energetic one. Nice. Go on, get in the hole. 65. Cool, so I've got a 10-yard separation there, 56 to 60. Nice, crisp strike. Ooh, a little bit shy of 58. Nice. 59. Gotta relax. I've got to really get loose through. And I think I'm losing a bit of consistency here because I'm fishing for a number, and that's not what I want to do. I want to almost shut my eyes, do a feeling, and then go, right, what did that do? I don't want to try and adjust to force a number to happen. I don't want to play on the golf course with absolute guesswork. I'm here. I've got nothing. There. No, not that. Okay, it's more reliable in the 56. So when I go on the golf course with the 56, statistically, that is more reliable. With a 60, I've got a bit more variation in there. Do I get 72? Obviously the green's not a 72, there we go, 76. Oh, I drop kick. 73. 72. 56 just works. 60. I'm doing that just to get the feeling back. Cool, I'm not going to look. I'm not going to look, I'm not going to look, I'm not going to look. I just want to do that 3 times. Cool, I'm not going to look. And again. Not going to look. Just want to see what the data says for that feeling. Is it worth it? So 3 shots, didn't even look at the screen. I've no idea what these did. 59, 60, 65. Okay, so that's an average of 61. I can play with that. And just to spot check, can I do that feeling? Belly button, no hands, bang. 61 target, 59 hit, cool. I think I've found the feeling. That is the feeling I want to play with. There we go in there, 58, cool. Now those shots there are firing much lower and they seem to have quite a lot of spin when you get the strike right. But even without the strike, it's still behaving in a similar way. So I quite like them little fizzes into the green. When we keep our hands lower here and especially lower here, while I'm keeping my hands down there, it is going to launch that ball quite low. Like the peak height on that shot is 26 feet and it's got 9,000 spin. I just want to test that feeling with a 48. Is it worth having that shot with a 48? So if I hit one first. Oh, that felt nice. Haha, 98. That could be a nice 100-yard shot that I need when it's coming in that way. So same feeling again. Oh, I like that. 102. So that's dancing around that 100-yard mark when it lands, but it's going to land and it's going to carry on. So if I've got a pin at the back of the green at like 115 and maybe there's like a slope in front of the pin and the pin's just on that back tier, now this happens quite a lot, I could fire this in at 100 yards nice and low with a 48 on that swing, know that it's going to land before that slope and just skid up it. And I can already picture a few holes and courses near here that would be very useful for. I just need to leave myself 115-ish in. And actually, like, I find that quite easy to repeat. The more I do it, the more I get used to it. Nice. Yeah, 95. But imagine that shot landing around the 100-yard mark at 43 feet compared to a full shot with a 60 going 105 feet. That's a very different tool. I'm quite enjoying that shot. Bosh 103. Okay, so it's worth doing that on all four. And then I basically get to this stage where I've got my yardages written on there. I've got 3 different swings, and the camera did overheat, so I've kind of like gone back and rechecked them, and I'm just really happy with these numbers here being what's going to come out. A little bit of spot checking, just accounting also for when I'm hot, when I'm cold, when I'm warmed up. If I get out the car onto the first tee, I'm not going to get everything out of my numbers. When I get to the 18th and I'm a little bit more pumped and I'm going in the flow, I'm going to get a little bit more out of it. So there is a little bit of leniency from there. So I've got a middle point to feelings of what that is. But at least I've got a benchmark to work from. And again, we've got 30 yards of green to sort of work with. I'm only trying to get it within a 5-yard sort of window to be functional on the course. 100 yards to the pin. I've got that number covered in 3 different ways, which is nice. Do you go this extensively on your wedge yardages? What I would advise most people to do that haven't ever done anything like this is literally just get 1 yardage with each of the wedges in your bag, however many you've got, just so you can lean on that, rely on that, and just get 1 number working. And then eventually you might get 2, and eventually you might get 3, but just get 1 to start with and go from there.